Don't you just love it when someone who has never done or attempted to do your job tries to tell you how to do your job? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, Day 4 of Pekudei, the accountings of. And let's go to chapter 39 of Shemot, or Exodus, and dropping all the way down to verses 32 and 33. It says, And all the work of the dwelling place of the tent of appointment was completed. The children of Israel did according to all that Yahweh had commanded Moshe, so they did. And they brought the dwelling place to Moshe, the tent, and all of its furnishings, its hooks, boards, its bars, and its columns, and its sockets. And it goes on to list all of the various components of the tabernacle. When Yah assigned the artisans the task of making all of the particular parts and pieces that, when fully assembled, would be the tabernacle and its complex, its courtyards, and all of its furnishings. They were given the command to make the parts, the pieces, but it wasn't their command to assemble it. Now, they may have done some trial fittings, such as making sure that when they created the silver sockets and then they put tenons on the acacia boards, that the sockets actually fit the boards. That the hooks would actually go together at their individual places between the veils that were over top of the tabernacle. So they may have done some trial fittings, but as far as the full assembly process, that was Moshe's job. So when Moshe gave them the blueprints and told them what needed to be constructed and manufactured, they did that. When they finished their tasks, they brought it all to Moshe, who looked at it and said, It's done. This is what it's supposed to be. Now, tomorrow we'll talk more about the assembling of, but it was the job of Moshe to put it all together. Each man, each person, man or woman, did their task, their job, and then they let others do what it was that they were supposed to do. It gives us a reminding of Rosh Hashanah's teachings about the body of Messiah. Everybody can't be the hand, or not everybody can be the eye. There are always those who want to be the more obvious, glorified, prominent feature of the body, but somebody's got to be the earlobe or the toenail or something that's less glamorous, and we would wonder, why is that part even necessary? Yah put the body together the way it's supposed to be, and this is an incredible functioning machine, vehicle that we have been given to live in and to accomplish our worldly physical realm task. But the body can't all be one design and one part. It has to be its various components. What you do and how you operate in the body of Messiah may not be recognized, may not be seeming glamorous, it may be unheard of, but it could be that you are the keystone that holds it all together because of what it is that you're called to do. I'm reminded of Yeshua's words in Yochanan, John chapter number 3, how that he said, it's actually chapter 4, forgive me. In verse 35 and following, he said, Do you not say there are still 4 months and the harvest comes? See, I say to you, lift up your eyes and see the fields, for they are white already for harvest. He who is reaping receives a reward and gathers fruit for everlasting life, so that both he who is sowing and he who is reaping rejoice together. For in this the word is true, one sows and another reaps. Now listen to what he says in verse 38. I sent you to reap That for which you have not labored, others have labored, and you have entered into their labors. I've shared with you many times how that I believe that we are living in the benefit of the prayer life of others that have gone before us, uh, especially during the times of national hardship and tragedy. Um, During World War II, World War One, for that matter, there were many young men whose lives were at great peril on battlefields, and people were praying for young men of our nation. Uh, During the time of the revolt of societal norms in the 1960s, which a good bit I remember, being that old now, I remember hearing the prayers for the young people of our nation. Uh, Throughout the 70s and 80s, there was great perversity and promiscuity and immorality that prevailed, and there was an outcry for revival and for uh, young hearts and minds to be turned back to Yah. Those prayers, while they may have had an initial answering, I think in the halls of heaven, if you want to use a figurative analogy here, they're still echoing. They are still sounding. I had someone who was familiar with quantum physics many years ago to tell me that when radio waves are put into the air, we have our receivers and we receive them, but the airwaves continue to move, and it is a principle that a sound wave will continue to go until it hits something and is refracted. It is given a glancing blow, and it'll turn and go into a different direction. And that those who are listening in deep space are saying that radio programs from way back in the early days of radio are still being heard in outer space because those airwaves, those sound waves are still traveling. Not having lived there, I can't tell you. That's an interesting idea and thought. So then, are the prayers of the previous generations going forward, and are we not laboring in as benefactors of those who have sown before us, reaping where we have not previously labored? In 1 Corinthians chapter number 3, it says, verse 6 and following, I planted, Apollos watered, but Elohim was giving growth. So neither he who plants nor he who waters is any at all, but Elohim who gives the increase. And he who plants and he who waters are one, and each one shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are fellow laborers of Elohim. You are the field of Elohim, the building of Elohim. Whether you are one who breaks open the soil, or who sows the seed, or who covers the seed, or who waters the ground, or who weeds the ground, or who tends to the plants and their initial stages, or comes and picks the bugs off, or you're the actual reaping. We glorify the reapers because they show up with the fruit, but there's a lot of hands that have been in the mix previous to, and the word says that we all share together. So while it may be a glorifying and rewarding moment for Moshe to stand and to be able to supernaturally put it all together and give us a complete picture of everything that has been accomplished, is there's the tent, there are the walls, here is the altar, there is the bronze laver. I see the garments of the priesthood. We see the actions of the trained priest. And we all may applaud Moshe, what a great job you did. But there were a lot of unknown, unnamed, unsung heroes that were all a part of the success of that moment. And so are many of you. For what you do behind the scenes, how you pray, how you work, what you speak, how you live, It's all honoring and glorifying to the Master. We're all in this together, and I'll see you again tomorrow. To then, shalom.